Awesome. Not cool. Power bank issues. Oh goodness. Never ends. All right, YouTube, give us 1 second, real quick. Oh goodness. Okay. All right, that's that. See how not prepared I am on the most important night of all nights. Oh. Okay, this goes here. Oh man. Oh boy. This goes over here. Always with the YouTube. TikTok people, give us 1 second, real quick. We're having some technical difficulties. A rare thing, but it happens. Okay, wonderful. All right, Venerable Leave, you could hit that right there. Oh, so sorry, people. Oof. Maybe I sit over here. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. We can retire. Just one of them. Here, I'll trade you. That. Oh, I turned that one off. That's okay. Hello. Okay. Okay. Oh, we can create earthquakes with these. I didn't know that. Well, how about the other one? Oh. Oof, that's rough. Sorry. Hello. So this 1, 2. Maybe the bass. All right, listen. It's all right. I think they can all hear me from all directions, especially because TikTok's a little far away. Man, this is really bad. Yeah, it's good. All right. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, all right. We're not going to use this. Sorry. All right, so this talk tonight is dedicated for Xavier. So what's so special about tonight is that tonight I canonize the youngest so far, Xavier, here from North Florida. I think he lives in Orlando. And so Xavier reached out to me about a year ago, possibly a year and a half ago. And through our dialogue, some of it of which recorded live on YouTube, obviously whoever's been following me across all of my platform realizes that I'm quite impressed with this one specific particular student named Xavier. And in my latest talk with him about relationships, he's able to cite anatta, which is the practice of the non-self, which is extremely difficult to explain, nonetheless grasp and internalize and practice and represent that to an authentic qualifying teacher to screen the appropriateness, the accuracy on point. And what is so impressive is that he's only 15 years old. And this was demonstrated in the presence of Venerable Lee, who also monitored the conversation. So This is by far one of the highest, if not the highest, form of sainthood under School of Qidao, which is, so there's the threefold training, right? There is sila, morality, meditation, samadhi, and then that will lead to panya, which is wisdom. So you got to keep the precept: don't cheat, don't lie, don't kill, don't steal. Um, After keeping the precept, 5 is basic, 8 if you are a champion, and 10 if you're golden. After keeping the precept, then you clear the way for meditation, cultivation of the heart, tranquility, serenity, peace. And as a direct result of that, wisdom will arise. And I have no doubt that Xavier keeps the precept. I have no doubt that he's not running around as a 15-year-old killing, stealing, cheating, sexual misconduct, and intoxicating substance. Okay, those are the 5 basic the Buddha set forth. He's not running around giving law enforcement a hard time. Okay? I have unshakable faith and confidence that he's not doing that. Comparable to his cohort, comparable to his generation and groups of students in the 15 years old arena, which is at 15 years old, they are freshman slash sophomore in high school. Um, I am quite astounded, because I realize how difficult it is to understand the Four Noble Truths, to have good roots and the capacity to understand the Four Noble Truths. The Buddha at times had to disregard certain individuals, if that is an appropriate word in this context, because they did not have, number one, good roots, and number two, they were incapable of understanding the Four Noble Truths. I try to pull all of the hair out of my head, trying to understand Anatalakana Sutta and many other suttas, right? Uh, as a matter of fact, I had a somewhat understanding other monastics lately, on the subject, because they're, just because a person understands it themselves, how you present to other people to understand with the bing light bulb in their head is totally different story. And my ears quite quick to listen, especially the joy of being a teacher is to just sit back, relax with a cup of coffee or green tea, and listen to students sing what, sing the Four Noble Truths. How they talk about it, not literally singing, but it's music to our ears as teachers, sitting back and go, well, tell me about the Four Noble Truths, and how the masses of the crowd that have gone through this school unable to do so and unable to impress me, right? It is the student's job to impress the teacher. It always has been. What does that mean, impress the teacher? You are to do what, Venerable Lee?
Give at least at very minimum surface level explanation and understanding with examples of the Four Noble Truths or whatever is being asked. Not, yeah. I'll,
So, we both, myself, being 37, have played all the games in college, have played all the games y'all can imagine, academically, in order to avoid doing homework. All of us have had our boredom and our laziness and our procrastination. So therefore, trust me, I have played all the games in the book. I have tried and retried, and passed exams and did not pass exams, and failed and came back, and the whole 9, 10 yards, you name it, I've done it. So therefore, one has to go through the path. One has to do one's homework in order to now know how to grade another's. So, it's fun being a teacher, and Venerable League is to witness all of this play out, where I'm like, well, I like to be the student now, and you are now the teacher. And I let each student who goes through this program, the cognitive behavior therapy program, the rapid realization program, and let them, explain to me what is the Four Noble Truth. So I know when someone reads one article, and I know when one reads 10 articles. I know when one go in depth, all right, into the details of the Four Noble Truths. There are certain keywords we are looking for. There are certain keywords I am looking for. That has to be of level of satisfactory, academically satisfactory, nonetheless monastically satisfactory. So it has to go through layers and layers of what I call screenings, kind of like security screenings, to make sure that they fully understand and have done the diligent, ardent work, discipline academically and personally, discipline themselves to sit down to make this the most important thing in their life right now in their life. One has to demonstrate that they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired and not wanting to suffer anymore, and therefore will sit down above and at all cost to do what needs to be done, to practice what needs to be practiced, and study what needs to be studied. So therefore, it just brings tremendous joy when the student pulls the cat out of the hat and impresses the teacher on one of the toughest and hardest subject, which is anatta, non-self, and throws it at me in the middle of a conversation. And I'm like, yeah, well, what does that mean? The three marks of existence. And what does that mean? The non-self. And I believe that he already demonstrated that in a live recording on previous, probably 3 videos before this one. And I will leave it to you all to do your diligent search and to listen to Xavier, which I will go back and title Xavier, because I think it's by default, it says Jidao is going live, whatever, the default that is on YouTube. Before the bestowment of sainthood, let me read the text. Now have Venerable Lee. Okay. Okay, Venerable Lee, if you could read these text messages from that below, okay, for the people to hear our conversation with Xavier and myself. This way we give Venerable Lee, a chance to hold the microphone.
So it says, so if you want me to publicize your picture and title, I will, or you can remain anonymous, but the point is to inspire other people, especially your generation, to study and practice. Xavier says, I understand this. I would like to know before you post what it means going forward, being canonized. It is to encourage you under the school to continue obtaining wisdom, and you continue studying and practicing and try to uphold the precept as much as you can. Under the school, there are 3 classifications of sainthood, which is sainthood by virtue of generosity, because it is very hard and difficult for people to let things go so far. So for those who give more and take less, they fall under this virtue. Actually, that makes it 4 classifications. There is by sainthood by virtue of morality, for those who keep the precept to perfection as much as possible. There is sainthood by virtue of meditation, for those who sit and meditate often, ardently, with discipline, and frequently, in order to obtain wisdom. And then in rare supreme instances, in cases like yours, where you have instantaneous wisdom by virtue of ardent studying and self-inquiry and self-reflection, especially given the nature of your age and generation and generational status. The title under the school is bestowed for those who have demonstrated excellence from the beginning, middle, or towards the end, and it is meant to encourage and inspire the rest of the world to do the same, not by virtue of the status, but for the attainment of spiritual growth and development. Sainthood classification and title only falls under my school and does not fall under the 4 stages of enlightenment under Buddhism. Xavier then replied, you have made it clear to me. Thank you. Also, thank you for the consideration of me for this canonization, and I hope to bring aspiration to the youth and to all to practice and truly reflect on their perception of themselves, especially with the common presence of anxiety within my generation. Much gratitude, Venerable Jidao. I'll stop there.
Okay, so he did send me a picture of the way. It just so happens to be a very serious looking picture, which is consistent with Theravadins, right? Very serious looking teachers, like my face right about now. So that will be published, and you all can have great joy in looking at his picture being publicized across TikTok first and foremost, then Instagram, then Facebook. I have to go back and relearn how to post on YouTube here. Um, so yes, the most common one is by virtuous generosity, because, like I said before, it's difficult letting go, nonetheless letting go of money or donations, of which does not is not a requisite, is not a prerequisite, not a requisite, not a requirement in this school. I require those who demonstrate what? By generosity, venerably.
Body, speech, and mind.
That's right. You go out, you volunteer, you hold the door, you be nice to someone, and so on and so on, right? In this tradition, we can only ask a cup of
water.
We cannot ask for anything else. We cannot ask you for money. We cannot. And so, therefore, when a person willfully, knowingly, and
intentionally
donates money for the great cause, the great and good cause, to effect the purpose of mitigating teen suicide and increase student resiliency, it brings me to light that this human have sat there and reflected on what the funding can do, for which is to buy time for people to figure themselves out, to put down a destructive weapon that they could use to take their life, to not get on a bridge and take their life. It just buys a lot of time, and it is exactly time that we need in humanity for people to know themselves, which is the path of peace and path of spirituality. I have found through my statistics that that's one of the hardest thing ever to let go, is one's accumulation of wealth and one's accumulation of one's currency. And so not a lot of people give more and take less. It is the total opposite. And in the presence of Venerable Lee, who got to see so much in 6-7 months, that he will have a wealth of wisdom himself as a direct result of examination and direct witness as to things that have unfolded right before our eyes, which is ehipasiko, ehipasika. What does that mean?
Come and see for yourself.
That's right. And he has came and he has seen it for himself. Whether he believes it or not, it's happening. It happened. I look forward to Venerable Lee sitting one day and writing a book about this, because they're not going to believe the things that we have witnessed, heard, seen. Of which, the other thing I forgot to teach you, or haven't gotten a chance to teach you because I've been very busy, is thus I have heard. Evo me sutang. Evo me sutang. Thus I have heard. And in our lives, in our monastic lives, thus we have heard a lot. We have also been lied to a lot. And so it's fun being young teachers. Okay, moving on. There is sainthood under morality, which is incomparable to their cohorts, generation, cross-generational, where they keep the precepts. They don't, again, kill, steal, lie, refrain from sexual misconduct and intoxicating substances, for those who keep dead on point as much as possible, such as Venerable Lee being one of them. Me, that when his mother even reached over to hug him, he was mortified. He really thought that he was going to go to hell, because we all know in Theravadins, women are not allowed to touch monks, and monks are not allowed to touch women. most of the 227 rule has to do with being around women in obscure places, and that's where people get themselves into trouble. And so it's funny. So when his mom gave him a hug, because they have this relationship where they don't get along, and mom's being mom, his mom's being mom, right? Reaches over and like hug him, and I love you, darling. And the look on his face was like, oh my God, now I have to go and spiritually cleanse myself because you have touched a monk. Then Julie, his manager, how did she touch you?
Like barely taps me.
Okay, so he works in carpentry, so very loud, right? Mowing, not mowing, but sawing, woodwork, right? Carpentry, kind of like Jesus. He was a carpenter, kind of like my dad too. Good in carpentry. So anyone who works in carpentry, of course, gonna have earmuffs on and try to like be in the zone, listen to music, and just just do their thing. I'm just doing my thing. And of course, Julie comes up and be like, "Excuse me." And what did you tell her?
That she's not allowed to touch monks, and we're not allowed to touch females, women.
Y'all should see the look on his face when he's see he has this Korean face when no one can read. Like sometimes when I look at his Korean face, I'm just like, are you gonna kill someone or what? Like it's very hard to read. One of the hardest faces to read, rooted in facial readings. So anyways, then when it came to the precept of not engaging in entertainment, it was hilarious for him to abstain nothing, nada. I even bought him a little speaker because he likes. I reward good behavior. So I got him Grogu's speakerphone. It was like $5, right? Grogu, the little baby Yoda. It's a speaker. You charge it, you listen to music, so that he can listen to Dhamma. But because that it came in the form of treading the line of entertainment, the procurement and encouragement of entertainment, he didn't even touch Grogu. And I bought this thing, he's left it on the table. And I'm like, why did you not use the external speaker that I got you? And you said,
because it's entertainment.
Right. It's so funny. I swear, this is what makes life worth living as a monk. Sitting back to watch 21-year-old monks, like literally mortified, walking on eggshells over like the minus offenses. And they take it to heart. They think that if they listen to one word of music, they will in fact go to hell, rebirth in the hell realm, in the 6 rebirth realms. I'm just like, it's okay. Calm down. So he learns. Then later, when he gives the precepts to people, he can explain what it is and what it's not, and it's okay. If you just walk by a store and you hear music, you're not violating the precept. The middle way. So, anyways, and then there is sainthood by virtue of samadhi, which is what I have demonstrated for all of you in my 6 years of public teaching, of which I believe it was the first 3 years or so, 3 years where I sat in solitude. It was just me and the phones and all of you. So all of you get to see me through the phone, sitting underneath the root of a tree in solitude, quietness, practicing samadhi, vipassana, vice versa. So, any student that demonstrates that, and it's not just demonstration alone. I have to be moved by their actions. My gut have to tell me that, Jidao, I think it's time, and it takes quite a period of time of observations so that we elicit the truth out of people. They can't just be like, oh yeah, here's a bunch of donations, or they're gonna sit for 4 months, 6 months, a year, and think that the canonization process is easy. It's not. It's not. I'm trained to see the truth in people and out of people. It's kind of like the human lie detector test. I try to be like the best human AI possible. So it's very hard fooling someone like me with 20 years of clinical experience rooted in criminology, psychology, history, sociology. So so that's by virtue of meditation. And then you have wisdom, which is after they have done the two requisites, then it leads to insight and instantaneous insight into the testing of the teacher. The teacher reserves the right to test a student to see if they have any residues of greed, anger, and delusion. Greed, anger, and ignorance of the Four Noble Truths. That means we reserve the right to cuss at you, to call you names, to poke a stick at you, poke multiple sticks at you, of which I did recently to a student in the presence of Venerable Lee. And of course, we got the truth out of him very quickly, right? Failed by a lot of measurements, failed by 98% of measurements. So it that's it's fun but necessary. Well, depends on how you define fun, but a necessary requisite towards the end of panya, because words can fool. A lot of things can fool another human, a teacher, and other monks. But you wait for the right moment at the right time, and you challenge them head on. Or the teacher reserves the right to misbehave and see how they would react, and then wait for the right moment to now go head on with that interaction, and to see how well they restrain themselves, what words they use, whether it falls under right speech, right intention, and right thoughts, right under the Noble Eightfold Path. So it's I think one day I will sit and expand on it. Right now it's just surface level, because I don't want to take up the whole night about this, because it's getting late. My direct message to Xavier and his father, with the latest information that I have, that his father is raising him. He's under the care of his dad. That his dad should be very proud of his 15-year-old son. Whatever it is going on in that household, you are doing it right. It is exemplary parenting. It is to be applauded. It is to be exemplified above everything that we have witnessed and seen in our society, where there is toxic parenting, poor parenting, lack of parental supervision, parenting styles, manner. It's terrible to see kids not fall under right parenting, as right as it's ever going to get. And so therefore, your son, Xavier, have demonstrated above and beyond the calling of any students, nonetheless 15 years old, nonetheless in the midst of his own studies of middle school, transitioning to high school, in the midst of his own life of growth and development, he has set aside the time necessary to investigate 84,000 teachings, as much as the 84,000 teachings, as much as possible. Your son has demonstrated the ability to effectively understand the Four Noble Truths, to apply it to his life, to apply it to others, to practice the right way. And he is really treading the actual stages of the actual sainthood, which is 4 stages of enlightenment. Anyone can Google that and to see the elements of the actual sainthood under Buddhism. So it's meant, my canonization is meant to encourage Xavier to continue doing what he's doing. It's right, true, just, and it is necessary, and it is beneficial for others to see how he's leading his life, living and leading his life. And I hope that all of his friends are paying close attention to potentially could be one of the youngest saints to be. He's ripening. We're watching him ripening. And if he were to ordain at age 15, no doubt he could excel very quickly. A prodigy child, no different than Dr. Sho Yano of University of Chicago, who received MD at 18 and PhD at 21, pediatric neurology. Let that sink in a little bit. Let that sink in. Pediatric surgeon at 21. opening up another child's brain. Uh, I think it was also pediatric oncology, which is cancer. Like, whoa. when I when I read his article, Dr. Shou Yano, a Chinese doctor, at 21, and I was just like, oh my god. Perhaps Xavier can reach that height, if not academically, obviously spiritually. And tonight, that's exactly what we look at and is now talking about his spiritual growth and development, how it is unprecedented, never seen before, and obviously never seen in my life. I hope that the monastic order and other holy men, and within other monastics, and within the three schools of Buddhism and the school of the elders, trust my judgment, trust my empirical observations and judgment that this falls under my school and the appropriate canonization of this young man, that he has, in fact, gone through multiple layers of investigation, multiple layers of screening, multiple layers of cognitive interviews, buy-in through subtle and non-subtle, uniform and not uniform, and prong test, three-prong test that has been developed in order to see if, in fact, this student did actually do the work. If, in fact, what they say is true and correct, that falls under our traditional school of Theravadins, and that they, in fact, pass the Dhamma exams, the potential and likely chance and the eligibility of passing such exams. Stringent and difficult. My school, perhaps on certain levels, could be described as impossibly complicated to pass through certain layers. And as the members of the public sits and listens to what I am saying, you're also open to judgment. You're open to discernment. You're open to assess and evaluate me as the teacher that I am, the young teacher that I am, and how I have inspired millions of people and the millions of followers that have found the teachings to be true, correct, and just, that falls under the Four Noble Truth, and would be exactly what the Buddha would say if he were to sit here today. I try to be on point as much as possible and not try to make a mistake in regards to explaining effectively and wisely and intelligently the teachings of the Buddha. So, given the fact that a lot of trust has been placed on me and public trust placed on me to make such discernment, judgment, assessment, and evaluation to a 15-year-old who have found to be within the scope, nature, and practice of our school, of under Theravadan, and under the qualifying, authentic experience teachers, elements of qualifications. And so, therefore, once again, congratulations to Xavier. Keep going. Don't let this make your head so big that you stop studying and practicing. One who has been canonized should know that life is defined by moment to moment, and therefore, good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and better is
Best.
So one can become lazy and fall off the swing very fast and become homeless. And so, therefore, one needs to strive by and through this model that I have laid out for the rest of you, as I myself have lived it, is still living it until this very present day. So, therefore, one should be humble and should not run around and flex that one is a saint under this school. It is for you to know, it is not for others to know. And to strive ardently and persistently and assiduously continue to practice so that you achieve, in fact, Sotapan, Anagami, Sagaragami, and Arahant, the four stages of actual enlightenment under enlightenment of Buddhism. So I'd like to conclude my talk. Any questions, concerns can be directed to my email at the number one Vietnamese interpreter at Gmail, and or all social media platforms with direct message, also known as DMs. Everything except TikTok, because that messaging is quite difficult to get to. So may you all be well, be happy, be free, and always be healthy. May all of you reflect on the teachings today, the good news and the announcement today. May all of you be inspired by this wonderful young man who sits there alone and study alone and practices alone, that reflects deeply. One can perhaps imagine this when the Buddha himself, during his time, reflected alone, studied alone, investigated alone, and wisdom arose as a direct result of practice, self inquiry, self examination, self reflection. It brings great joy. May all of you strive harder and harder each day, excellence in the beginning, excellence in the middle of your life, and subsequently will bring excellence towards the end of your life. A good life equals a good death. May you all strive for the same as the previous saints, the previous actual saints, the previous arahants that have roamed this planet, so that all of us can achieve peace to effect the purpose of world peace. We inspire other people by and through our own change. May you reflect on that. May all of you be healed and be a significant source of healing for other people. We can use more role models each day. We can use more saints each and every single day. Satu, satu, satu. Venerable Leave, you could so kindly end TikTok over there on that side.